That gap between what the system does and who answers for it has been chosen at every step, not by accident, by design. 25 years, thousands of strikes, one classified legal framework, 4 named roles in the chain, each pointing somewhere else by the time the missile flies. 4 people in every targeting decision. Only one needs to refuse for the chain to break. None of them ever has. Which of the 4 do you think is accountable?
Let's get into it.
In 2001, on the opening night of the Afghan war, a Central Intelligence Agency team in Virginia fired a missile from a Predator drone 11,000 kilometers away. The legal authority for that strike took 4 years to surface. The architecture has not changed. This is the Hamberger Report. I'm Andreas Hamberger, Enterprise Architect, Wellington. That single strike opened a program that ran for 8 years before any external authority reviewed its legal basis. The architecture for accountability was not missing by accident. It was never built. This is the second episode of Lethal by Design, the 9-part Friday series drawn from the book. Last week we set out the 80-year-old gap between weapons capability and accountability. This week, the system that scaled that gap into a template. The Predator did 3 things at once. It put the pilot in Nevada, it put the analyst at Langley, it put the lawyer in Washington. None of those people was the decision maker. The decision was the system. The early Predator strikes targeted named individuals. Mullah Omar, Mohammed Atef, specific commanders whose faces appeared on briefing slides and whose voices were intercepted by signals intelligence. In January 2008, that premise was abandoned. A presidential authorization expanded the agency's targeting criteria from named individuals to patterns of activity. The operators no longer needed to know who the target was. The target's behavior was enough. This is what was called a signature strike. The signature was a gathering of military-aged men in a known area, a pattern consistent with militancy. The classification system did the rest. The Bureau of Investigative Journalism documented one strike in North Waziristan in March 2011 that killed 41 civilians at a tribal meeting about a mining contract. The Pakistani military had been notified 10 days in advance. The American ambassador tried to halt the strike. He was overruled by the station chief. An anonymous official told the New York Times the men were terrorists. They were in fact settling a dispute over a chromite mine. The pilot of the strike that killed Anwar al-Awlaki was in the continental United States. The strike took place in Yemen. The target was an American citizen. Anwar al-Awlaki was born in New Mexico. He had not been charged, tried, or convicted of any crime. The legal basis for his killing was a 41-page classified memorandum written by an assistant attorney general named David Barron, dated July 2010. The memo concluded he could be lawfully killed because he posed an imminent threat and capturing him was not feasible. The memo's definition of imminent took 8 pages. 8 pages to explain what imminent means is not legal clarity. It is legal construction. The word was stretched to cover a permanent condition rather than a proximate event. Under the definition Barron supplied, any individual designated as an active member of an enemy organization posed an imminent threat at all times, regardless of what they were actually doing at any given moment. The Barron memo was classified for nearly 4 years, a legal opinion so secret that no court would ever review it, no citizen would ever challenge it, and no foreign government would ever cite it. When it finally appeared on the front page of the New York Times in June 2014, after a Senate confirmation battle and a federal court order, it revealed not a rogue operation, but a considered institutional architecture, built deliberately, designed for concealment. 3 legal challenges to the killing of Anwar al-Awlaki failed. The first was dismissed before the strike for lack of standing. The second was dismissed after the strike on sovereign immunity grounds. A parallel challenge in the United Kingdom against British intelligence sharing was dismissed under the Foreign Act of State doctrine. Next Friday's episode, The Corporate Kill Chain, traces what happened when the same accountability architecture moved from government to industry, when Silicon Valley discovered what its targeting infrastructure was being used for, walked out, and watched somebody else build the next version. The Hamburger Report publishes daily across 7 series. Lethal by Design runs Fridays through to early September. The historical record this episode has set out is also a present-day procurement record. The accountability frameworks designed to govern lethal autonomous weapons systems are mature documents. Article 36 of the 1977 Additional Protocol 1 to the Geneva Conventions requires every party to review new weapons for compliance with international humanitarian law before deployment. United States Department of Defense Directive 3000.09 governs autonomous weapons development inside the Pentagon. The United Kingdom Ministry of Defence's Joint Service Publication 936 covers the same ground for British forces. For boards and chief information officers in New Zealand, procuring AI decision support tools, the question is not whether your vendor has touched the defense market. The question is whether the procurement contract makes the system's decisions reconstructible, contestable, and held to a named accountability standard. The same vendor architectures that deliver the targeting infrastructure described in this episode are the architectures now being sold into commercial enterprise. The frameworks exist. The contractual discipline to invoke them is the procurement decision that has to be made by the buyer. The classification system did the work the law was supposed to do. The enemy killed in action designation was applied automatically to any military-aged male killed in a strike zone unless evidence subsequently emerged to prove otherwise. Neither the military nor the agency had institutional incentive to produce that evidence. A strike killed a group of men in a known militant area. The dead were classified as enemies. No investigation followed. The next strike was authorized on the same intelligence picture. The system produced its own evidence of its own success. This was not a glitch. It was the process. The National Security Agency contribution made the algorithmic parallel explicit. A program called Skynet applied machine learning to mobile phone metadata to identify potential couriers in Pakistan. A second program called Gilgamesh mounted signals intelligence payloads on drones to harvest phone data from the ground below. The first documented use of algorithmic analysis to feed the lethal kill chain, named after a science fiction artificial intelligence designed to end the human species. The name was not ironic. 2 weeks after his father was killed, 16-year-old Abdul Rahman al-Awlaki was eating dinner with his cousins in Shabwa province, Yemen. He had been born in Denver, Colorado. He was not on any kill list. A Central Intelligence Agency drone killed him on the 14th of October 2011. The intended target was not present. Abdul Rahman was. The administration's explanation came not from an official statement, but from a comment by the former White House press secretary at a campaign event. He said the teenager should have had a more responsible father. No investigation was announced. No compensation was offered. The accountability gap is the distance between the people who chose to build a system that could not answer for what it did and the people who lived beneath it. Next Friday, when the same architecture moved from Langley to Silicon Valley. This has been the Hamburger Report.
That is the Hamburger Report for today. If this was useful, subscribe and hit the like button. It helps more professionals find the channel. You will find links to everything we covered in the description below. I am Andreas Hamberger, and I will see you tomorrow.
Like and subscribe.